One of the most beautiful plants that I've grown out so far this year has been Jealousy Fast by Seedsman. Now, Jealousy was originally bred by Seed Junkie Genetics. It's a hybrid made from crossing Sherbert BX1 with Gelato 41 and was actually selected as a Leafly Strain of the Year in 2022. In this video, I'm going to take you from seed to harvest. I'll cover everything from lighting, environment, and nutrition to plant training, automatic watering, and the final yield. We'll also cover the smell, taste, and effects. Now, I actually got my hands on these genetics before they were released to the public, along with some other genetics. Here I have some unreleased genetics, so exclusive. This is probably the first time you guys are hearing about them. These are actually from Seedsman. So we've got 5 different ones. We've got a Black Sugar 2.0, the 5-pack there, Ice Cream Cake Fast. We've got Guava Root GMO and Jealousy Fast. It was planted in a 1-gallon container in Fox Farm Ocean Forest soil. From when the plant sprouted up until about day 23, I would water the plant as needed and feed in Stash Blend at 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. Being in a 1-gallon container, I obviously wouldn't give the plant the entire gallon of solution. I'd give about 6 or 7 ounces depending on the moisture level in the medium. On day 24, the plant was ready for transplant. We can see that the plant's lower leaves are yellowing a little bit here. It's in need of some nutrients. Now, I normally like to transplant out of this 1-gallon container no later than day 21. However, my busy schedule prevented me from transplanting on time, so I ended up transplanting a few days later than I'd like, but that's okay. The plant will bounce back and it'll be thriving again in no time. Before transplanting, I topped the plant at its 4th node. I then transplanted the plant into a 10-gallon living soil fabric pot with reused soil. This is actually my 6th run reusing the soil. One thing that you've probably noticed is that there is a cover crop growing in this container. In between grows, what I did was I added in 1 cup of Build-A-Cell Craft Blend, so there's some nutrition in there. Then I planted a 12-seed cover crop blend. I made a whole video on cover crops, the benefits, and the details on what's in this cover crop blend. Not trying to take you away from this video, but I know there's a lot of people that have questions about cover crops, so I figured I'd quickly mention it. I'll have a link to that cover crop video in the outro card. Once you're done watching this video, you can watch that one. So you can see the cover crop is grown in pretty nicely. I need to kind of cut it back a little bit here. I'm gonna make sure it's not overgrowing the space, kind of getting into a different plant here, but I just want to cut it back to make sure it's not overgrowing the cannabis plant. I've got a 9-inch Blue Mat carrot in there with the 10-inch drip ring. I actually just installed that this morning and it's looking pretty good. This is on day 33 of the veg stage. So I'm gonna have this in veg for a little while longer, get a decent sized plant out of it, and then I'll flip it over to flower. Here it is on day 44 of the vegetation stage, and growth has been pretty vigorous. The only plant training I've done so far has been just that 1 topping. I haven't been tying down branches, low stress training like I often do. For the most part, this plant has grown with an even canopy without a lot of training. This is the Jealousy Fast. This one's looking pretty similar to that Ice Cream Cake Fast. This one's also by Seedsman. You need to come in here and do some training as far as widening the plant, take some ties and tie it down, but overall the plant looks pretty healthy. All of these plants have been fed Build-A-Soil Craft Blend, and really they just did that initial amending. But this is the 6th run in this same soil. And over time, they say soil just gets better and better. When I'm using those organic or all natural inputs, and the microbe life is really just thriving in there. Instead of normally doing a top dressing every roughly 30 days or so, I'm now coming up past day 40 and I haven't had to do a top dressing yet. As for the lighting on this side of the tent, I have 2 Evo 3 LED grow lights, both by AC Infinity. AC Infinity is a sponsor, and they hook up my viewers with a discount code. Use discount code MrGrowit15 during checkout at acinfinity.com. And I'm aiming for, I believe these plants are getting about just under 600 ppfd par. So that's really, I like 400 to 600 ppfd in the veg stage here. So I'll keep it at that. And like I mentioned, as I was pointing things out on the controller, I'm able to achieve that at these lights being 30% or a level 3. So significantly dimmed. Now, when I go into the flower stage and I bump up the ppfd, typically I go from 600 to 900 ppfd, I'll definitely have to increase that. Often I'm increasing it to 60%, 70%, 80%. I'm never running these lights at 100% anymore. They just don't need it. If I was supplementing CO2, I could probably run them at 100%. But me being a small home grower, kind of being in here, not supplementing CO2, I'm able to get away with dimming these lights throughout the entire grow cycle. I ended up removing the Blue Mat auto watering system and adding in this EcoWhip moisture meter instead. This is my first time using this particular moisture meter, and I wanted to gain some experience seeing how long it takes for the medium to dry back, and then hand watering to see how the moisture percentage adjusts. Also, one thing to mention is that I did a top dressing the day before flipping the flower. 1 cup of Kiss Organics nutrient pack, watered in with Stash Blend. I'm actually looking at my notes right now, and that's the last feeding I did in this grow. So I went through the entire flowering stage without doing any more top dressings. Now there is some nutrition in Stash Blend, and I continued using that every other week for the remainder of the grow, but usually I would do a top dressing around day 30 of flowering, and I didn't have to do that this run. This goes back to reusing the soil over and over again. The nutrition is there, the micro population is thriving, and adding in fertilizer isn't needed as often. Day 11 of flowering, and at this point is when I typically look to see if I should do a defoliation and or lollipopping. Starting off with defoliation, one of the things that is used for is to make sure airflow can get through the canopy. If you have real thick, bushy plant happening and there's a lack of airflow through the plant and high humidity, it could lead to powdery mildew. So doing a defoliation, both early veg as well as I like to monitor it throughout the first 3 weeks of the flower stage, which is often called the stretch period. I like to monitor it and do defoliation 1 to 2 times during that 3-week span. Now these plants look pretty good. These plants have longer internodes. They're not gonna really need as much defoliation as something like this, or even something that would be more squattier. I would take off more leaves there. Now lollipopping is another thing that is commonly done within the first 3 weeks of the flowering stage, as well as some people do it in veg as well. Lollipopping is really taking off the lower third or lower quarter part of the plant growth. So here it's already kind of done. You can kind of see that for the most part, this one is done. So I'm gonna let these plants grow a little bit longer. Typically, these plants will stretch, so continue to grow vertically, for about 3 weeks. So roughly around day 21 is when a lot of folks will look to do the final lollipopping and go in there and do another defoliation to make sure the remaining weeks of flowering, everything is good to go there. One of the things I haven't talked about yet is the environment's conditions. Here in the flowering stage, many growers are aiming for different conditions than they did in the veg stage. Temperature, relative humidity. Some of these things can change going from veg to flower. Now me personally, I like to keep the same temperature pretty much throughout the entire growth of the plant. Typically what I'll aim for is between 72 and 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the range I like to aim for. Some folks like to go higher than that. 85 degrees, 87 degrees. Now supplementing CO2 in that case will certainly help. And the temperature is really going to be cultivar dependent, variety dependent. Genetics are going to be a big factor on what the plant can handle. Now, if you're going lower than the 72 degrees Fahrenheit, some people do that and they get away with it. It's once you get real low, like into the low 60s, is when plant growth starts to slow down. Not only does the internal functions of the plant really just slow down, but the microbes in the medium also slow down under those lower temps. So slower amendment breakdown if you're growing organically. Now for relative humidity, VPD, let's talk about that, vapor pressure deficit. I like to do 0.8 to 1.2 kPa in the seedling stage and into veg. Now, if you look at Pulse VPD, if you search that, they have 3 different charts of VPD charts that you can look at. That general recommendation is 0.8 kPa for seedlings. And then going into veg, they recommend around 1.0 kPa. So in the range of 0.8 to 1.2 is typically what I aim for seedlings and veg. But when you go to flowering, it's going to be a little bit different. 1.2 to 1.5, sometimes 1.6 is what I go for kPa when you're in the flowering stage. Pretty much what that is, it just means it's a little bit less humid in the environment. And that's really good for flowering, because if it's too humid in this environment here, it could lead to bad things. The powdery mildew, we kind of already talked about that. Bud rot is another major thing that can happen. If you have buds on your plant and it's high humidity and there's a lack of airflow, perfect combination for bud rot. I've had it before, and I do not wish it upon anybody. It is, it's terrible getting to harvest. You cut down your plant, you hang it up to dry, only to notice that there's mold on the inside, and you gotta throw it away. All that hard work is wiped down the drain. So 0.8 to 1.2 in veg, 1.2 to 1.6 in flowering. Those are rough ranges to go for. On day 21 of flower, I inoculated the medium with nematodes. I had been battling fungus gnats a little bit, and now being in the flowering stage, I avoid sprays. So this nematode application should help knock back that population. Weeks 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the flowering stage, I saw rapid growth. The buds really swelled up quickly. They looked to be dense and had excellent trichome development from the top buds down to the bottom. The terpene profile is said to be dominant in beta-myrcene, beta-caryophyllene, and limonene, which should deliver a mix of citrus, tangy, woody, and earthy notes. I can't say this particular pheno smelled like tangy or orange at all, but I did catch a light citrus smell on the back end. The colors really started to come out on day 53 of flower, and the plant became more and more purple as the days went on. Day 59 was probably the beginning of the harvest window in my opinion. I could have harvested at that point, but I wanted to give it some more time for more trichomes to turn from clear to cloudy. Fast forward to day 66, that's when I decided to harvest. Most of the trichomes were cloudy with around 10% amber, and most of the leaves had changed color from green to purple. Gorgeous plant all around, big, dense buds that seemed to be consistent in size across most of the branches, colorful, frosty flowers which definitely made this plant picture worthy. Now, me being a small home grower, one thing I've mentioned in past videos, but I'll mention this video since there are new folks tuning into these videos all the time, is that I don't aim to maximize yield. I just don't need to. 2 to 3 ounces per plant is generally what I'm aiming for, growing 6 to 12 plants per run. That's a sufficient yield for myself until I complete my next grow cycle. That being said, final yield on this Jealousy Fast plant was 108 grams, which is just under 4 ounces. Like I said earlier, it doesn't smell like tangy or orange at all, but there is like a fruitiness with a citrus on the back end. So it's like a real light smell of that. Woody with a citrus on the back end. Light sweetness, definitely not overpowering. As for the effects, it was very euphoric. Relaxing high. It was such a beautiful day outside that day, 80 degrees, barely any clouds in the sky. I was just soaking up the sun. The Palo Verde trees are flowering and they're just absolutely beautiful. Definitely was a good smoke. I really enjoyed it.